Story 1, this is Fireteam Delta. Dad's coming home. Welcome to the Military Veteran Dad Podcast, where it is our mission to bring every dad home. I am your host, Ben Killoy. I'm a United States Marine veteran, husband, and a father. We will bring authentic conversations to inspire action in your life so we can close the gap between the dad you are today and the dad you want to be tomorrow. This is the Military Veteran Dad Podcast. Welcome back to the show, and this week episode being Memorial Day, I just want to remind dads to pause for an extra few minutes this Monday and think about the dads that didn't come home. Think about the legacy that they don't get to leave, the holes in those child's hearts that don't get to grow with that love and nurturing of having a dad. And if you're a dad listening to this and you're stuck on trying to figure out what your service is, I have one message. They died so that we could live and be dad. And it's time for us to come home and recognize that the legacy of our service is over. The next legacy of our family is happening right now, whether we're present to it or not. And we're only going to get one chance to be a dad. And reflect on the ones that didn't get a chance to come home and make your legacy as being a dad worthy of their sacrifice that they didn't get to leave. So dads, I just want to leave you that quick message. Now on with the show with Dr. Paul Henning. Dr. Paul Henning is married with 3 wonderful children, and they reside in Massachusetts. He is currently an Army officer on active duty, currently serving as the executive officer of the U.S. Army Research Institute of Environmental Medicine. He has over 15 years of leadership experience as an Army officer. Paul manages and operates an online health and wellness coaching business. He is genuinely passionate about helping people enhance all aspects of their lives through health and wellness. He believes in health is everything, and the good health will lead to a more fulfilling life for ourselves and our loved ones. He has dedicated his entire professional life to helping people transform their health and wellness through nutrition, fitness, and positive lifestyle habits. With over 25 years of academic and practical experience in the fitness industry and over 15 years of leadership experience in the military, he combines a habit-based approach to health and wellness and utilizes his leadership skills and knowledge to guide people to what is absolutely essential to improve their health and fitness. Paul, welcome to the show today.
Hey, Ben. How are you? Great. Great for having me here, man. Pleasure to be on.
Thank you. Go ahead and fill in the gaps in the intro and tell us a little bit more about your family.
Yeah, sure will. So I have 3 children right now. I have a son. He is 12 years old. He is from a previous marriage. He's doing well, living in Florida right now, and he visits us in the summer. He'll be up here shortly. And then we have 2 really outstanding girls we're having a ball with, 3-year-old Felicity and a 1-year-old Carmela. And
I like those names.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that. And my wife, believe it or not, is pregnant with our 3rd girl coming due in October. So things are getting interesting.
You're going to be outnumbered.
Heavily. Yeah, so it's going great
against you.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so my wife is from her family is right here in Massachusetts, where we're currently stationed right now. So she's around family, and it's just good to be around this area and have some support. Nice. I grew up, though, just to let you know a little bit about me real quick. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and my family's still back there. I have older sisters, 1 younger sister, and a mom still lives in the area.
What part of Pennsylvania?
It is a small town of Jim Thorpe, named after the athlete. It's in the Poconos, settled in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania, a little bit, about 45 minutes from Allentown. There's probably a lot of people that heard of that. And Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, I was about 30 minutes south of that.
I stayed at a hotel in Poconos on the way home from a work trip when a hurricane hit Connecticut back in 2010. I was there for some generator work. And as far as we could get was Connecticut and the Poconos the first day.
Okay.
And that's where we ended up staying. That's about all I know. I've never been back. I never really even knew it existed until I drove through it, and I was like, oh, that bad of a place.
Yeah, I've been, right. A lot of people don't know too much about it. A lot of people know, they heard of Jim Thorpe. They know, like, hey, is that the athlete? And I'm like, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of history there, a lot of history on the athlete, Jim Thorpe, and how the whole name came about. But
There was a Marine in my unit back in Okinawa. He was from I can't think of the town's name, but he was from the town where Punxsutawney Phil is officially from.
Okay. Yes. All right.
He's like,
Exactly.
he was telling me all about it. And it's always weird when you kind of get someone to talk about those kind of like weird things that you just never know the full details of. Like in this town that I can't think of the name of, it's a school holiday. They take the school off on Groundhog Day because it's that big of a
Really?
deal there.
Yeah.
It's like, where else in the country can you get Groundhog's Day off for school?
Exactly.
Well, in the town where Punxsutawney Phil's from.
Yeah. Makes us wish we grew up there, huh?
Yeah. So you've had a long career in the military as a family man. When you hear the words "come home," what do those words to me mean to you? And you can pick any time of life where you think it meant something different, or even tell us a different story about what those words. But when you hear those two words, what first comes to your mind?
Yeah, that's so what first comes to my mind is when I think coming home. Okay, first you kind of think literally like you're away somewhere, like on a forced military, right? The deployments come to mind. We all do deployments typically in the military, and I've done one with my current family, only with our one so far, with our newborn, or with our firstborn daughter Felicity. I did a tour in Iraq, so coming home in that sense it just meant, I finally get to come home and be where I'm meant to be, and that's with my family, and just be able to support them and be there with him. But then I also think of it as, I'm coming home almost on a daily basis, because every time we leave our home and we go off to our work, whatever we do, whether there's business or a career or whatever, we totally transition. We have to make a transition almost, right? Because we're two different people when we're at work. Well, at home, we have to act a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, every day when I leave my work and I'm on my way home, it's something I look forward to so much. And I think of coming home as like walking in that door and having my wife there and my little girls, and just having that bonding moment and just, enjoying the rest of the evening. So that's kind of like, I look at it two different ways like that, but it just means, in a nutshell, means is just coming home is being where I think it is an incredible place for a daddy and father to be, and that's with his family.
If you could take us back to that deployment you mentioned for Iraq, and you came home, I've talked to a couple people on the podcast that when you come home, there's like, did you have a coming home ceremony? I'd imagine, where you have the big hugs and everybody, the videos and all the stuff you see on TV and stuff.
Yeah. So the most recent one I did not, and there's a little reason why. So the other two though before that I did, yes. There was a big ceremony. I was with the 1st Cavalry Division, and there's a big like parade and escort by the police and all that. So, but this last one was more of a as in a different kind of mission. So it was more of a covert kind of thing, and I came home. But my wife was there.
You never left.
Well, it was like more of as an intelligence assignment. So it wasn't a big thing like when I came home and everybody was there, like it was when I was at the Fort Hood assignment. My wife was there, and that was good enough for me, man. My wife and Felicity was only like a year old when I came home. I actually, 6 days before she turned 1, I made it home, which was awesome. So just having them there, and with a sign, they had a sign up, and that was everything to me.
I love watching those videos because you can cut the tension with the knife prior to that scene.
Yeah.
And once they see each other, it's just like this instant relief. You can see the physical emotion inside each of them go away. And we've talked a couple times in the podcast that the next 3 months is almost like dating, when you're dating your spouse, where it's like the honeymoon phase. Like you're just so glad to be home. The memories, it's almost easy to be home. But then after that 3 months, you're trying to almost find your place in the home again. Like the newness is off. You're back into a routine. There is maybe the excitement that your wife had for those first 3 months that you were gone. Did you experience like that, or did you have anything relatable in the after the honeymoon phase of coming home?
Yes, I think you're pretty. I was only gone 4 months on this one, so it wasn't a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was long enough. I mean, my wife was, she had her hands full with, the first or one baby at the time. But yes, I think what happens there, and I remember my other deployments getting, you go through the post-deployment reintegration training, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And one of it was like done by the chaplains, and um, was like reintegrating with your spouse. So what happens is, of course, you know this too, is that when we're away, our spouses, our wives, or whatever, and they get used to a routine, the way they do things.
They learn to live without you.
Exactly, that's what happens. They have to,
They
and
create systems and processes that doesn't require you to be there.
yes, yep, exactly what happens. And they just learn to do it without us because that's just the way it is. That's the way they have to survive, and our hats off to them. But yeah, so what happens is when we come home, sometimes a little that creates tension. It didn't for me, honestly, but I've seen others where it's hard sometimes to reintegrate. So, but yeah, I experienced that honeymoon when I came back with my wife, and then of course, after a few months, you kind of get back into daily rhythms, and like you said, it kind of wears off. But it was great, man. It was just so awesome to be back, and just being away, it makes that heart grow fonder, right? And then just when I came back, it was I don't know, coming on that airplane back from Iraq is the most incredible thing ever. I just never forget like just how good it feels when you know you're coming home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you know that that you survived, almost that the
Right.
constant tension that you have inside your heart, that every minute could be your last, that you don't know what could explode next to you at any given minute, like this, that always on. I don't know what that's like. I didn't deploy, but I've heard people talk about it, that
Yeah.
you're just always wondering if this is the minute, and then you're on that airplane. And the only relatable, and it's not really that good, but it's only one I have is so Marine Corps boot camp is in San Diego, right next to the airport, and watching airplanes take off all day was completely just screwed with my mind all day. And I remember being on that airplane looking down for that after that was all over, and I was a United States Marine. Like, to me, that's a memory and a moment that I can recall very vividly in my head when I close my eyes. And it's those moments exist in a lot of different areas. And I think in our military, where whatever we are trying to accomplish is over, and we've reached that milestone.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I think just reaching those milestones like that. I mean, it just was great. The deployment, like you said, you hit it right on the head there, Ben. You just never know. I did 3 of them over there, and every one was like, you never know what could happen. All of them are dangerous, and I thank God I haven't experienced anything close to what some people have.
Even one at
But
home can be dangerous, as much as
yeah,
training accidents can happen these days. And
yes. Oh yeah, exactly. They do. I mean, it's a risky business, being in the military, even with the training that people do, and you hear about helicopter crashes in the States too, and unfortunately that happens. So yeah, just knowing that I made it over that hurdle, and then on my way home was just incredible feeling.
any advice you want to share about that coming home experience with anybody else out there that might be going through it, or any bits of wisdom?
Yeah. So anybody that's deployed or away from family is, just embrace it. Embrace, like, really be proud of what you did. Very, of what you accomplished over there, and be very thankful for what your spouse is doing on this side too, because they're doing a lot. And that was like one of the things where I think happens a lot is that we're over there and we're going through our day to day. Every day we just do our thing over there. We get into a rhythm. That's all you do is pretty much, when you do your 12 hours of work and you get 12 hours off, and you think you're just, you're high stressed over there. You're worried about this, and there's missions going on. And you almost sometimes people think that, oh, my wife's back home and enjoying herself, but if they're with kids and all, it's hard. It's hard for them, and it's hard to see that perspective. So one other piece of advice I would have for people is just really try to understand and be cognizant of what your wife or spouse is doing on this side too, and just when you're on your way home, that's one of the first things that I said was just thank you for taking care of things on this end. So that's what I would say to people too.
One of the, I can't remember the exact guest, but it was early on in the podcast recordings. The advice was shared that to come home, but be deeply curious about what was life was like. Just turn on your active listening and just be present and understand what life was like. Let your wife talk about stories. Let your wife vent. Let your wife tell you the happy moment. Let your wife tell you the sad moment, and just be there to understand with a deep sense of curiosity. I think that you have to go with the deep sense of curiosity, because you have to go past the surface layer. You've got to go 3 layers deep to really figure out what life was like. And I think that allows you to probably even reconnect in your marriage. I don't know what it's like, but I think it would work that by going and getting back to that root intimacy within that conversation, that then you could then almost rebond in a way that made you could reconnect and feel part of the family again, because you weren't there, but then by listening, you were kind of almost recreating the memories as you were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great advice, man. I like that a lot. I think, yes, I would second you exactly what you said there, and reemphasize that. Yes, take that time to really listen very, very carefully and listen actively and with curiosity, like you said. That's a great word, because I think what happens, and I was probably guilty of this a little bit too, was you're focused on what you did. You're trying to tell your wife, or hey, I had to do this and this over when I was employed. This is that's
you were
only
doing a diaper. I was swapping in and
yeah, right. And you almost kind of like belittle it a little bit, but no, yeah, not the thing to do. Definitely,
and
listen.
there's been just recently we've been talking about on the podcast a lot is about legacy, and that trying to make sense of your service isn't the legacy you're supposed to try to make sense of. It's trying to make sense of your family legacy, because that's where the best impact and best place for your leadership skills that the military taught you is implemented.
Mm-hmm.
And being deeply curious and just understanding what life was like for there, because nothing nothing that happened overseas in the battle or in the heat of wherever you were deployed,
right,
will actually really serve you in at home. The skills, maybe the leadership skills, the moving people, understanding people, but in the end, it's how to make an impact with your family. And if you, I think so many military dads just get stuck on, why did we survive? Why did we live? And I'm going to start sharing the military members that DoD releases that died in the battles every week. And I think there's a big lesson to learn, that they died so we could come home and be dads, and that our daughters and sons could have dads for the rest of their lives. Like, to me, that's the gift of legacy to them. Like, that I can now make an imprint on my kids, and I need to leave a legacy worthy of their sacrifice.
Yes. No, hey, man, that's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I 100%, Ben. That is crucial. It all comes down at the end. It's like our family's there. Our family's going to be with us long after the military. My career is going to end at some point. My family's still going to be there. So, yeah, if we don't take that time now while we're in, or all those that are in active duty or whatever, and harness those relationships and build them strong, the foundation and connections, it's going to hurt us later on. So,
and it's like credit card debt. You have to deal with it. Otherwise, it just builds and builds and builds. It's like your waistline. It can keep building and building. And this is something you're very close to your heart. It can keep building and building, but eventually someday you got to deal with it when your pants stop fitting.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's everything's perishable, right? Like the skills of, it's almost like, like the concept of, or the analogy of weeding the garden. It's not going to grow, right? Just like everything else, we gotta stay active. We participated to strengthen our relationships and especially with our wives and our children. So it's crucial. So like you said, it's the most important thing, and that's what really matters. And that's what really matters to me, for sure.
So you've got young kids, and this is the age that I love because their imagination just runs wild.
Yeah.
What are some of the best ways, or can you share a memory with us that your kids have remembered? Because every podcast we remind dads that kids spell love Time, and it's always the simplest things that they remember and cherish as a memory and want to do again that you never intended. So is there a memory you could share with us of something your daughter loved you doing with her?
Yeah. Oh gosh. It's the simplest things, it really is. It's nothing really big yet, but it's I would say there's multiple things, but one that really comes is I just did it before I got on this podcast, because I'm on the East Coast here, and I just put my girls down to sleep. So reading to her at night is it's the best the best thing for me is to get in the bed with her and she'll pick out. Now it always goes. Lately, it's been going up in the number of books. Right? It started with one book, and then we're up 2, 3, 4. She's trying to push 5 books now before he goes to sleep. So it's awesome. But that time, she loves it. Like she just said, "Can we read?" When she's brushing her teeth, she'll be like, "Can we read?" And I just love it that she just remembers that time. And so that's one of the things I just love that she remembers.
Do you read with the girls together, or do you read with them by themselves?
So I do it together like during the daytime, but at night the other one's still in the crib right now, and we usually just still give a little bottle to her and put her down. But eventually, yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be both of them before bed.
I went the other way. So I started reading. We used to sit just down in one of the bedrooms and read all together. And it was always just this freaking nightmare of fighting and turning the page and sitting in daddy's lap.
Yeah.
And just a few weeks ago, I switched to one-on-one time with them. And that was a game changer. So my youngest is almost 3. So they're all like at an age where they can all enjoy a book. My youngest picks the same silly books every time. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
The worst part about having more kids is then when the next kid starts reading the old books that you've already got put away, you're, God, I hated this book, is what you say in your head. You're just like, man, we got to bring this book back out.
Yeah. It's like, you know him by heart, right?
I'm always amazed of how the universe comes in to introduce something, but I was on Facebook and Jimmy Kimmel had, I just had it in my head as I was prepping this comment, Henry Winkler. And he wrote a bunch of children's books about his life growing up with just being challenged as a learning disability. And his final book was called Everybody is Somebody to Somebody.
Okay.
And it was just like, it was only like a 5-minute segment on Jimmy Fallon, but I went and watched it. I read a few of the things on the books. I read the reviews, and I went to the library and I checked out a whole bunch of the first ones. And I've been looking for a chapter book to start reading to my daughter because she's my oldest daughter, because she's a ferocious reader. She's 7 and she can pound through a chapter book in a night.
Nice.
And so I've been trying to find one that we could just sit down. I'm not ready for Harry Potter. Those are going to burn me out. And these Henry Winkler books, I've really just started liking them. We've only gotten the first few chapters, but it's just crazy how an entire series of books you never knew existed and come into your life at a random moment. And now those are what she looks forward to. And I look forward to that now. And my son, like when I really started this one-on-one time, like you can tell it means something special because he'll get really close to me and like cuddle. He'll want to get under my arm. Like that physical touch one-on-one time in that moment, that is something that boys need, but they don't know how to say. Right.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. It's the same with me too. Like she'll, get on my lap when we're just reading and just like, the connect, you could tell that you're really connecting with them.
You can feel the love tank filling up when it's happening.
You can feel it. Yeah. You can feel it when it's happening. And like that's just those moments that are just sticking with them. And yeah, it's a great thing. I think it's one of the most important things that we can do as dads.
And I think if we were even switch back to our coming home with a deployment, I think as we try to figure out how to make up for being gone, I don't think our kids have the gap that we have in our head of what the deficit of what we want in their head or what they think we need. That it's just, I think even something as simple as just starting with reading your child your book at night, it'll be like you never were gone. Like for us, we'll probably have a guilt of a skyscraper high, but for them, it's big, but it's not big that the simple things that we can do can't overcome.
Right.
And I think that's something important when we come home from deployment is focus on the simple things to bring your connection back to your kids.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. It's the simple thing.
We can overcomplicate it so much with that guilt. And if you're dealing with other things in your head, then you can probably should yourself out of it. Like, oh, I shouldn't do that because of X reason. And it's going to be the simplest things that they love. Like we've been going on walks in the neighborhood and I label it an adventure. And it's not an adventure. It's the most boring walk in the history of subdivision walks. But because I called it an adventure and I call some random things, some funny things like a driveway, I'll be like, hey guys, be careful. We're going on the road of small rocks. Don't hurt yourself. And there was an excavator in one of the new areas of the subdivision. And I was like, Dylan, look, there's a cat in the wild. Can you believe it? And my oldest daughter figured it out, but Dylan liked it, and it
Right.
just sparked their imagination. Like, that was simple,
Yeah.
but they talked about that for weeks now.
Oh God, yeah. The imaginations that they have, and that's awesome. Yeah, like
You
you
can do
said,
so
is
much more damage in their world when you enter their world versus that you trying to bring them to yours.
yes. Right. Yeah, good point, man. Good point. That's all it takes, man. The simple things, and then that time, like you said earlier, that's what they want. They just want some of your time, and it could be the most simplest thing that you're doing, and they could have the time of their lives. Yeah.
So I never really thought about it, but I wonder where within like the last, like, I feel like it's probably the last 100 years, like where did society transition to that it had to be complicated to spend time with your kids? Like, I'm sure in the beginning, maybe 50 years ago, like in the 50s, maybe I feel like it was simpler, like in the Leave It to Beaver mentality. But at
Uh-huh.
some point, I don't know if it's because we got more focused on things. It probably was connected with things and materialism. That
Right.
those are. I've often thought in my life of growing up that how has the connection of buying something to the idea of making yourself happy served me, and then trying to undo some of that and teach my kids to be happy without having to buy something, which is
Yeah.
probably why we overcomplicate it, because we think we need to buy something to connect to happiness, when it really, at the core, that's not how our mind works. It's just how society in America and consumerism has programmed to think it works.
Yes. I think yes, exactly right. I mean, I think that's just a kind of like a spiral effect with things in this day and age is the trying to buy love almost, even with our kids. And I know a lot of their dads, and not military, but they just struggle with just the connection part, because some of them just work all the time, and they just think they could buy their kids something, and then that takes care of it. But
Mm.
what do you think about that? Well, I guess, what do you think about that whole struggle of? I mean, I know what I think about it too, but I'm just like opening this up and getting your perspective of, and it comes down to consumerism and wanting more materialism, but the whole thing of just like trying to buy your kids gifts, and thinking like that's enough. You don't have to really spend so much time with them. You could work and work. And
I
any
think
thought?
it's you first have to take the perspective of how that choice is playing out says more about you or your lack of something than it does anything about the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that until you're ready to focus on the inside work of recognizing like what was I missing early in my life, in my childhood, that this is trying to fulfill. Like, am I living vicariously through my kids is always something I feel like a trap that parents get sucked into.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think as people, especially as I think Americans, we follow patterns. We unfortunately keep up with the Joneses.
Mm-hmm.
And consumerism and capitalism are wonderful things, but the downside is they require you to stay in patterns,
Mm-hmm.
and patterns from our childhood, patterns from how we connect those memories, especially a powerful memory. And I've been really focused on, especially with that word adventure, that trying to interrupt the patterns, that so much of what we really seek in life isn't the things, the next house, the next car. It's really just to experience that we're alive. And sometimes that can be just connecting with your kids. Sometimes it can be going for a walk in the woods with your kids, but
Mm-hmm.
just getting outside the patterns. Like, do you experience the weekends and come home and just, okay, we got to work on the grocery list. Okay, we got to figure out the Target run. We got to figure out
Yeah.
laundry.
Yeah.
We got to figure out breakfast. Oh, it's the
Right.
end of the weekend.
Yeah.
And like, if you don't really pause it to make intentional investments to get outside those patterns, I feel like the more you stay in the patterns, like the more I know I feel like horrible. I just feel just sorry for myself almost, because I'm not alive. I'm not doing things that I'm proud of. And I'm not, especially once you get a taste for experiences. I feel like in the military, we all have a taste for experience. We've all done things that very few people in the entire world have done. And we want that adventure. We want that. There's a book that was just mentioned, Wild at Heart, by John Eldridge last week on the podcast. And that book talks about that there's a burning fire inside of all men to have adventure. And adventure can be a big word, but to kids, it can be very little word. Like I said, it can just be something as simple as a walk, but just getting outside the patterns and there's something that I didn't really get a chance, but the Marine Corps is the first chance I had to. Was I'm a big believer you got to get outside of your life in order to figure out how to live your life. And you
Yeah.
got to get outside the patterns to get outside your life. And you got to do things you've never done. And there's for my weight loss journey that I started a gym habit last year. The question that really got me there was, if I want a result I've never had, that I need to do something I've never done. And I've applied that question a lot to just what I want to do each weekend. What do I want to do this summer? This is going to be scary. I don't want to scare you too much, but like,
No.
When you say the words, you only have 18 summers with your kids. It's a very small number. And how many people actually slow down to intentionally make those 18 summers count?
Summers, you said, right?
Yep, 18 summers. Like, that's a small number. Every person can feel that. That's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like right around the corner.
Right.
Especially if you're at like 10 and you're like, oh my gosh, we only got 10 summers left and they're out of our house. We better get outside these patterns, because eventually those 18 will be gone and you're like, what happened?
Right. Yeah, you're right, man. It's a tough pill to swallow, right? But it is so.
But I think it starts with yourself. You really got to figure out, you got to do the inner work on that question to really figure out what voids that happiness is trying to fill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I
what
agree.
problems you're trying to solve temporarily with some type of materialism.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And it is always the thing that wanting more and trying to keep up with the Joneses. That's a huge thing. And you get into those patterns of, just, I don't know, some people want to work a second job or do this so they could buy this and buy this. But like you said, our kids don't care about that. They just care about that time. And, we could lose it. It just goes by. Time's not going to stop for us. For
Every adult who's ever told me that you better pay attention, these times go fast, I'm positive that's just them covering up to say that they weren't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't want to admit it. That's me. They're trying to warn me, but that's them admitting I wasn't there.
I wasn't there. Yeah. True. Yeah. I'm sure it is. But yep. I think it could definitely get the best of us though, as adults, and I think it has. I mean, it could, of course, I'm sure there's a lot of dads out there are struggling with this right now. So it's a huge topic, and something that I hope that anybody's listening to that really, really, really that is struggling with this, that just reflect on this and just think about what Ben just said there and take those points to heart.
And I think about them almost every week now, especially as summer gets close. Like, I'm really trying to make sure that this summer is good. And I don't know how I'm going to pull it off, but I would love to get my kids to India at some point before they leave the house, because every person I work for an international company, so I know quite a few people that have been to India, and they all say like people there have absolutely nothing, but all of them have a smile on their face.
Yes. Right.
And so I don't know what lesson or how the lesson will be learned, but that perspective and that depth to life, I think, is super important. And I would love to try to give that experience to my kids, that learning how to live with nothing and observing how people are happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. I would love that too. And you hear about this, and we just did with our church, we just did a 6K World Vision for water, and they showed a clip of some of these villages that they help with, and what that 6K comes from is that's the average distance that kids have to walk just to get water, and they're charged with the duty of carrying these jerry cans, filling them with water, and the water's not clean for their family. I mean, this is 8-10-year-old kids. So, but on the flip side, they just like you mentioned, these kids are happy. They're just happy, and they have like nothing compared to what we have, but they're content. And that just amazes me. I mean, what a great lesson that we could teach.
And I think that's the best gift, or best, especially in 2019, the best gift you could give your kids is learning them how to be happy with nothing.
Yes.
Because there's so many driving forces in between marketing and media and friends and school, that if you can teach your kids to be happy with what they have. And I'm not that good at it, because my daughter sometimes is spoiled rotten with things that she wants, and she's going to Target and always wanted the next piece of junk, and she's losing her own money. So I'm teaching her about money and value. And I'm like, I always ask the question to her. I was like, how long did you play with the last thing you bought at Target? About a few days. Or does she even remember the last thing she bought at Target? And sometimes she doesn't. And I'm like, that's probably not a good use of your money.
Right.
Sometimes for me, it's still really hard. And the only thing I can do is just ask her questions based on her decisions. Let her come to the conclusion that didn't really make me happy.
Yeah. I think that's the best thing you do. That's the best approach. And then eventually they get it, right?
Because I don't think you can parent it into them. You really have to let them walk to that conclusion.
Right.
Especially if they're surrounded in a world where there is a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And like you said, it's almost like, man, it's stacked against us, right? The odds, because, all their peers have all these things and they get influenced, and it's like they come home, and they, I want this because Johnny or Rita has this at school.
Yeah, there's these twisty pets at school, and there are these little transformer things. They're really stupid. But she's like, my friend has 11 of them. I only have 6. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
That's our current struggle right now, is getting her to accept, like, okay, it's okay if she has 11 and you have 6, that just be happy with what you have.
Yeah. I know. I know, man. I know. Mine's only 3, and I see some of the things that she's kind of going through already. And
you're on the Disney Junior stage of marketing, where they're trying, the Disney Juniors programming to get all this random stuff.
Right. Exactly.
All the Sophia the First memorabilia.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? I know. I mean, we could talk for hours about this whole thing with him, man. It's the whole marketing and how it just, almost frames all these, the kids for like, hey, at an early age, like, this is, you have to have this, you have to buy this.
And this what makes you happy, because you saw someone smiling on TV.
Yeah. Right. But what a great point, though. What you said earlier about having our kids, teaching them to be happy with nothing. What a crucial skill for a kid to learn. Right? I mean, that would take them far in life. I mean, if they could really get that and have that skill set, man, that will really take them far.
So let's switch gears a little bit to your health side. I feel like everybody in the health has some origin story of why they chose it, or either a family member or just a point in their life where that became the road they started walking. What's your origin story in your health side?
So for me, at an early age, I got into I guess you could call it the bodybuilding bug. I just clearly remember looking at the magazines and the Arnold Schwarzenegger days, and seeing him in magazines, and I just loved it. I loved like the look of it. I loved the feeling of strength and getting stronger. Well, I didn't really understand what that meant, but I mean, I guess I was 8 years old, I think, when I started, actually playing around with a weight set in my basement. But then it grew from there, Ben. As I got older, I played football, I played sports in high school. So I always weightlifting, of course, goes hand in hand with sports, especially football. So I was always fascinated with that and trying to get better at my sport and using, strength and conditioning for that. And then it went right into college. I wanted to study exercise physiology because I just loved studying that field and learning about the body's systems, how they function, kinesiology, anatomy and physiology, then the whole world of nutrition and how that world, I mean, that science is in its infancy.
Yeah. The worst part is it's separate from the health system we have today. Like, if you go to I've heard this said many times, if you go to your doctor and say you have a sleeping problem, they'll rarely ever ask you what you're eating.
Exactly.
But what you eat every day has a pure effect on, or how much water you drink has a direct effect of how well you sleep. But those things aren't questions that they're even trained on. It's not like they're holding out on you. It's that as a doctor in medicine, they're not trained in those things.
Exactly. That's huge, man. That's exactly right. They're not trained on nutrition. I mean, medical doctors don't get pretty much any training at all on nutrition, those type of things. So, yes, I mean, they're trained to kind of give you a prescription or write a prescription, and that that is proven to be, not working for a lot of people. I'll just leave it at that. I have tons of stories I can go into there, but I'm not going to. But so it was just that love and passion of that field. I love studying it, and when you find something in school, right, that you could actually love enough where I went to grad, and when I went to grad school for it, and it just my love and studying it and learning about it and applying it grew and grew. Then on a personal side, my father was not the healthiest person. He passed away at age 60 from a massive heart attack. And I saw it kind of coming, I mean, when I was going through my undergraduate years, I would always tell him he was a smoker. And I always said, hey, Dad, try to stop smoking. Let's go out, let's start with a walk, try to get eating healthier. And he just never took to it, I guess, one of those things, you get into those patterns and, you can't give them up, whatever. But anyway, he had some congestive heart failure at age 57, or I think 58. And then I was actually in grad school. I moved away to Florida that's where I went to grad school at Florida State. And then he had a heart attack and passed away. And I flew home and, attended his funeral. And so that drove me too, just to learn more and more about it. And I mean, there's a lot of people out there that their lives are getting cut short. Not only their quantity, but the quality of their lives is taking a big hit.
And the more we get surrounded by people that are also overweight, the more you just accept it as that's just the way it is.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's a new pattern that it's like, okay, it's okay to be in this pattern.
Yeah, and that's what happens. I think a lot of people do just accept it. And I mean, they don't do anything. A lot of people don't do anything until they get that scare, really, unfortunately. And that's what it takes. When the doctor says, you need to do something about your health or you're going to die. And that's, a lot of people have their doctors say that to them. And that's when they say, oh, maybe I do need to make a change, right? And, I believe in preventative medicine, right? Kind of in that word, the nutrition and the exercise comes into play. That's all preventative, like prevent diseases from happening, not wait till this disease happens and try to treat it with medicine and treat it with pharmaceutical. So, yeah, I think, our health is everything. I said that in my opening as part of my bio. I think it is. And this goes hand in hand with what we're talking about here in kids too, right? Because, God, I know you do too, brother. And I want to be there, hopefully, long and long, having a quality life and seeing my girls. And I still got a new one on the way that hasn't even been born yet. So it is, crucial to me to staying healthy and stay in shape.
Yeah.
And live a long life and spend that quality time and doing quality things, like you said, taking your kids out on walks or whatever.
Yeah, you're gonna be 6'2" when she's going to high school prom. You got to be.
Oh man, is that right? Oh. Yeah, man, you're right, man.
And when she brings that boyfriend home, you got to look like you're not just that old dad that can't beat him up.
Yeah, man, I can't come out like all bent over and be like, and or on a wheelchair already. Yeah, no, I know, man. So hopefully, it's so important. And for me, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing for years now. It's a part of my life. It's built into my daily rhythms. And
I framed it a while back, and it touches on what you talked about when you lost your dad, that my grandmother had emphysema and was a smoker early in life. She stopped late. I don't remember when she stopped. She wasn't smoking when I can remember, but she was always on oxygen, and when she was dying, she was like, it was a struggling death because she couldn't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And that emotion that caused me, I was like, I'm never going to cause anybody in my life that pain. So I've never even tried smoking. And as much as the military is a smoking organization of smoke 'em if you got them, never tried it. Especially in deployment, that's where it's really dangerously close to being tried. But it was never even something I fathomed, because I wasn't willing to ever risk putting my family in pain. And within weight, weight's a hard one because there's so much emotion connected to weight. And even for me, it's been a problem as well. But framing it for that, I have no right to take away the years from my kids as me as grandma and grandpa, and me and my wife and grandma and grandpa. Like, for me to make a choice now that will affect me not being around when they have grandkids, or when they're in college, or when they're just young adults and they need, like, I'm making choices now that are going to rob from that time then.
Yeah.
I don't have any right to take that away from them. It's not, I have a right because of my life, but at the same time, I am not giving myself permission to inflict that pain of not being there for those moments.
Yeah.
Because the risk is too high. We have to play the long game almost when you frame it this way, that it's about the end game and what time are you robbing But every time I see a smoker, I hate being so judgmental, but I've often just think I'm like, they're not going to be around for the grandkids. They're not going to be around for those hugs. And I loved the relationship I had with my grandmother. She was my first best friend. She was at the end of our driveway, and I won't be here to feel it, but to know that I took that moment, that experience away from my grandkids, I don't know, that it eats me up inside just thinking about it as I talk about it just now.
Right. Yeah, no, man, you're right. You're right, Ben. Exactly. It's such an important point. And, I think a lot of people just don't think of it like that way. And until it gets too late, unfortunately.
You got to go play the legacy game where what legacy and how long do you want to impact your legacy?
Yes.
You say you can impact it for another 10 years and then it's over, or you can add another 10 on to that, or another 10, or you can and eventually you get to the point where you're not crafting the legacy, you're being the cheerleader for it. Like, if they go out there to make their dent in the world, like, then you get to be there to observe it and to see all those little seeds that you planted for so many years of reading those stupid books at night. And you're not going to get to see the end game. I think that's the best part of
I know, right?
Especially if you work on the legacy point of view. Like, if you really invest in trying to create the best adults you can with your kids, I think standing on the sidelines and watching them go do great things, I think, is one of
that's awesome. Yeah,
the best views you can have in life, later in life.
It really is, man. There's not going to be anything better than to enjoy, like, all the fruits of your labor, so to speak, right? And and be there. So I think about, what my dad missed. He didn't see me get married. He didn't see my son. He didn't see any of my daughters.
And none of your daughters will ever know what he was like. It'll be just the memories of you.
Exactly, man. So it's crucial. It's just like you said. I want to see my girls go through all that stuff. And there's a lot of pieces of advice I will seek my dad's input for after he, as I was only 25 when he passed. So I was still young, but he wasn't there anymore to give those advice, pieces of advice to me. So yeah, it's so important to invest into ourselves and that respect, so we can give more quality to our kids and to our grandkids down the road.
So I grew up on a farm, and my dad's dad. So my grandma and grandpa moved to the end of our driveway. My dad moved into the house where he was raised, and so my grandpa came up every day to do chores every day. Okay. And he was a smoker earlier in life. Smoked. I never knew at that point, but I've heard he was a smoker. He stopped eventually. But when my dad was 34, and I want to say I was like 3, he had a heart attack in the milk house one morning, and that was it. He was gone. He died maybe like 25 minutes later at the hospital.
Wow.
So I only have a few memories left, and I still not even sure how my dad has, because he's always kind of like that rock hard type guy that doesn't show a lot of emotion.
Yes.
Like how he walked through that. And oddly enough, he reminded me when the age that I was, or when age he was when his dad died. So I often used to have this fear of like getting a phone call that he's gone, and he'd never smoked, so he's been fairly good with his health, but like there's a lot of fear. And luckily he gets to invest in memories with my kids, and I'm always making sure that he's there. It's one of the reasons why I don't necessarily move away, because I want that impact. I don't want to take that away from him, because he does like that. And it's a difficult thing to deal with. And I often think about what my grandma went through having him pass away. And they were just starting their retirement life. They were going on road trips everywhere. They were just enjoying the life, not being connected to the farm.
Right.
And I'll never forget, I didn't know about this right away until my grandma died in 2013, I think, that someone made the comment that she had said that, so my grandpa died that morning, and one of the first things she did that day was she put a ham in the oven, because she's like, there's gonna be a lot of people over. We better start worrying about how to feed them. And like, there's even just talking about it now, if I can feel myself getting teary, that those moments happen, and they're not good, but like, that's a model of how I want to respond to different things and just continue to move forward. Because I think a lot of times we get stuck on so many things that if like a different you could have gotten stuck on your dad dying and living with regret for years, and just not, and staying in neutral in so many ways of your own life. Yeah. Maybe if you didn't have your health under control, like, and you were just like your dad, that I could imagine would paralyze you from taking
Yeah.
it somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some people that happens, this thankfully I don't know what it was, but they almost think that, they see that happen to somebody they love, whether it be their parent or whatever, and they don't change either. They just keep going down that road for
Back
whatever
to
reason.
those patterns that we stay in, that we feel that these patterns are safe, but
Yeah. Right. The safety almost, right. I don't know what it is. I guess it's a safety net for some people to stay in that pattern and not change because, change is scary sometimes for people, but, yeah, not for me though. I mean, that was a big thing for me. And, there was that moment when he passed too. And, I just wanted to see how much I could help people out, not ever come down to that. And so they can live a more fruitful life.
mm-hmm. I've heard in like the best mindset that I have with being a coach and leadership is the game of monkeys. Always have one hand up and always have one hand down. So a lot of what you're doing, Paul, is always keeping your hand down to make sure that other dads don't fall into that pit that lead to that road that your dad ended up at.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good analogy. I like that a lot. Yeah. And, you know, absolutely. Just not on the health side, not only on the health side is where I like to help. I mean, that's the mechanics of getting healthy is one thing for sure. Then that's just a matter of executing, the day-to-day things. But then it's what it is a lot. And one of the things I'm working on now to be better at coaching is the whole mindset part of it. What's stopping people from executing those mechanics, right? Whether it be whatever, how they managing their time, is it fear? Is it
Mine was fear.
whatever?
Like I had tried working out in the Marine Corps, and so it's the biggest fitness club in the world, and I never felt like I could get fit by the Marine Corps standards. Never
Right.
PFT, and so that fear of failure, of like that not being good enough at that moment, paralyzed me for over 15 years.
Jeez, wow.
And it really just took getting a coach to hold my hand almost, and essentially he told me the exercises to do, and I pretty much walked that road and just had to show up. And that allowed me to kind of work through it on a step-by-step basis, but not take the whole thing under my control. I just had to show up, do the exercises, and go home. And it's crazy when you talk about the mindset. Like there was two colloisms that I repeat often to myself. And the first one was I think it was like the first day or two, I was thinking I needed to ask myself a question that I was never asking. What's one thing I can do every day that will change every tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
And when I asked this question, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the gym. And I've done it so I go at 5 a.m. and I've done it by 5:45 before anybody else has come into my life. Nobody from work can take that away from me. Nobody anywhere else in my life can take away that one thing I've already done to change every tomorrow in the future. And then I kind of coined a term of making daily deposits in the bank tomorrow, because I make those deposits before anybody else has a chance of withdrawal.
Right.
And so it's that little bit of it's like taking a direct deposit out of your paycheck before anybody else can come get it.
Yeah.
You've already made sure you've saved for yourself. And the other parts that I realized is when it was for me, going to the gym was more about just proving to myself that I could do something and grow. Like I just consistently kill limiting beliefs. I remember doing dumbbells, and it was in the early days. I'm lifting one up and I was like, I felt like that was heavier last time. And then I created Clays, and I was like, what was hard today will be easy tomorrow. And it's really, you just learned that doing repetition and stretching limiting beliefs and proving that, I just need to show up and take some simple actions every day and I'll slowly get better. Wow, what a concept I can apply to every area of my life.
Yeah.
So I find going to the gym is more about doing life than it is about building muscle. Building muscle is almost a side effect for me.
Exactly, man. No, it is right. You're right. And the effect it has on other parts of your life from having that commitment is huge. And hey, hats off to you, man. 5 a.m. in the morning. That's awesome. I'm the same type of person. I get my thing done first thing in the morning. It's the priority. That's
and
how
I'm not a morning person, but it's just started doing it, and then it became something I really liked, especially on Mondays. Even a friend of mine gave me a saying that like on Monday mornings I want to kick it in the teeth, and I've already kicked it in the teeth by 4:45, and
Yeah.
it just and the crazy part is now I got like Jocko in my head, and I'll be
Oh
laying in
yeah.
bed in the morning and I'll be like, damn, there's Jocko in my head saying like discipline equals freedom, and
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yep.
just laying in bed, and then I'm to the point almost now after a year, like I can successfully talk myself out of most excuses and work through and get out of bed. And even though I'm groggy and tired, and
Yeah.
get to the gym, do some jumping jacks, get some blood, and then come home and I'm like, God, that felt good.
Yeah. You know, you
And,
feel so accomplished, right?
and then
Yeah.
just continuing to do that. Another colloism is limiting beliefs are like rubber bands. You just need to keep stretching them and they'll eventually break. And so
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
just the gym, you just got to keep showing up and do that work, and the results will come.
Right. That's it, man. Yeah. That's
And
it.
take the
That.
smallest step. Like I wouldn't say I've completely conquered my health on anything, but I took,
Right.
and the simplest step was getting the gym. I didn't tackle nutrition at the same time I was doing the gym. I wanted to get the gym habit down. Now I've
Right.
got that. Now I can move on to something else and not try to build too much of a house of cards on top of each other and have a breeze come by
Right.
in a
Right,
day and then
man.
just blow it all apart.
That is exactly right, man. That's the whole philosophy and concept that I coach people too. That is the habit building, the habit stacking, if you will. Because yeah, you don't want to throw everything at once, right? Just like you
Yep.
mentioned, you wanted to do the gym first, and that was awesome, man. You did that, you got that going, and now it's a part of your habit structure, and now you're going to move on to your next piece. So yeah, that's great, man. I love it too. It's just like you feel so accomplished. You got that part of your day done. You got your gym in, and now it's like whatever happens the rest of the day, man, you no one can take that away from you, right?
The rowing machine is where I found the most life you can do, because like within a 15-minute row session, I'll give up on myself about 10 different times and tell myself that I should quit, and like, oh Ben, just stop it. You're already exhausted. Just quit.
Yeah.
I'll set a goal, I'll hit a target, and then to get it hit at the end of the time, and I'd be like, huh, I set a goal, I hit a target, I could do that. Even though I told myself I couldn't do it, I wanted to quit, I still was able to finish that. Like just switching and programming that your mind will give up far sooner than your body, and proving it
Huh?
wrong consistently. And the simple things like rowing machine isn't that hard. It can be hard physically if you're not doing it a lot, but just proving to your mind that your mind isn't the limitation of what you should say yes to is something
Right.
you practice. And I have no idea where that's going to play off in later in my life, but
Yeah.
it could be a reason why I have a podcast now. I'm not sure, but it just those little examples when you prove your brain wrong help you in ways you have no idea.
Absolutely, man. So yeah, another saying I remember when I was young in my high school days is I think it's the military. Must have been coming from like I don't know special operations, but it goes like your body can withstand 10 times more than your mind think you can. The mind thinks it can, or something like that. And just and you think about that literally is that I know you just described it an anecdote there, and it's like when for you're exercising and you're pushing yourself, you're doing some training, and you're like, man, this is it. I can't go anymore. But your body can do 10 times more than that. That's a pretty insane. That's pretty crazy because I mean that's our own capacity that we put on ourselves. And I mean it's not only important for exercise and building our bodies and getting healthier, but just think of like taking that mindset to other parts of our life too, right? Which can
Yep.
be applied to just we can do more. We could go outside of our limitations or limiting beliefs. And again, that's just like one of the things I'm really trying to get better at with coaching too with people is just their helping them with their limiting
See
beliefs.
past the horizon.
Right, exactly. And the whole mindset game.
So as we wrap up here, Paul, what's a parting piece of advice you want to leave for military veteran dads? What's your best piece of advice wrapped into a nice little gift?
Military veteran dads, yeah, well, first of all, you're a unique person. You're a unique individual. You're a dad. You're a military. You served your country. You have you have an incredible legacy right now. And I would just say, lead by example. Keep leading by example because you have been. Uh, our military does sometimes. I understand it. I understand it well. It puts stress on us, and it demands time. It takes us away from our families. Communicate well with your families and your loved ones that when you have to leave, and just embrace that time when you come home again, whether it be on a day-to-day basis. after a long day at work, or if you're doing short deployments or TDYs or whatever, come home and I'll use your words too, Ben, and just listen actively to your family and just and connect with them. Take that time to connect, because cherish your families. Our families are everything. They're going to be here long after their military careers. I promise you that.
And your wife will be there long after your kids leave.
Exactly. Yeah.
Your kids will betray you. It's a certainty. Right. There's few certainties in your family, but your kids will betray you. They will leave the house and
kids will betray you, man. They will leave. They will leave. I know it's hard to believe.
You'll be left with the one person you committed your life to.
That's right. That's right, man. That's exactly a great piece of advice. So our wives are a bedrock, right? I mean, today being Mother's Day, what a great day to think about this, right? So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, man. They just, and what they do is incredible, and just cherish that time and build them up. Build your wives up, fellas. Yeah.
Well, Paul, I know we brought some dads home with a lot of different conversations on this episode. You almost got me crying with sharing my story. So,
oh man,
I don't think I've almost cried in the podcast yet. So this was the first.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed this, and I was looking forward to this episode because I've been following you on Instagram for a while and trying to figure out you and figure out who you are and what you're up to. And it was nice to peel the onion back and get the.
Oh man, likewise, man. Likewise, Ben. I really appreciate what you're doing here on this show, man. This is awesome, man. I think this is huge. It's being a dad and especially a military dad is absolutely, incredible honor and privilege, and we just gotta keep stepping up and executing. So thank you for what you're doing, man. It's great connecting with you. And
if people want to follow your Instagram handle, because your Instagram is where you're mostly active, if I'm understand.
Actually mostly on Facebook. I got my closed Facebook group. It's actually called Operation Transformation. It's the whole military lingo I put in there for anybody who really wants to kind of make that transformation in their life. That's a closed group on Facebook. Dr. Paul Henning, PhD. You can find me on Facebook. The same thing on Instagram. I pop on LinkedIn too once in a while, but I would say Facebook is my primary social media handle, and then my website too is just drpaulhenningphd.com. Or
awesome. I'll include all of those links in our show notes for any of the people in the audience that want to connect with you afterwards.
Yeah, sure, absolutely, be great, man. I'd love to connect.
Well,
and
Paul,
again, Ben, I just want to thank you, man. It's been outstanding.
I thank you as well, and it was as good a conversation as you can have on a Sunday night.
Absolutely, bud. Have a great week.
Thank you. You as well, Paul.
All right. Take care.
That's a wrap. And thank you for listening to today's show, and I really hope you enjoyed it. The lifeblood of any new podcast are the reviews. If you haven't reviewed the podcast yet on iTunes, I would really appreciate it, and you will help us get the message out to even more military veteran dads. As John Maxwell says, if there is hope in the future, there is power in the present. Dads, it's time to come home.